Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry channel, and with me tonight are Minions Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
DrFunctional.
Hi.
And SkepTock.
Hello, everybody.
Let's see, let's mix it up a little bit here. How was your day, DrFunctional?
It's not over yet.
It's too early to tell. I've had plenty of days like that where I'd go to play pool and people would say, "How's your day?" And it's 10 p.m. I go, too early to tell. A lot could go wrong between 10 and midnight, right?
And that's usually when it goes wrong.
Yeah, it's usually when things start to go pear-shaped, is between 10 and midnight. Hey, Scap.
The pear-shaped fours turn into sevens.
Yeah. How was your day?
It's been a good day. Worked out, got some things done around the house. Practiced the guitar, had a good nap, and I'm high on real thing.
Good.
Life, full tank of American gasoline, a shoe shine, and a hot dog. My
well,
God, I'm hungry.
since it's
Sorry, I've started channeling Fireside Theater there.
well, since it that reminds me of a story that I forgot to put in tonight. Oh well, we've got like tons and tons of stuff to talk about
it's an
tonight.
amazing schedule tonight.
Oh, you've only seen about a third of it.
Oh wow!
So we may need to be. I may have to be a little stricter than I often am about time.
Yeah, okay.
But that's okay. That's okay. We've done this enough times. I think we know the drill. Serenity, how are you doing?
I'm good.
You're still a 20-sided die. You keep making your saving roll every time. Amazing.
Yes, that is the point. I will succeed. God damn it!
Well, speaking of saving rolls, are we broadcasting on the Minions channel successfully?
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah. Apparently, we are out of the naughty box.
Yay!
I originally thought it was a 2-week suspension. Apparently, it's only a 1-week suspension. So we're streaming on my channel and on Minions. So hopefully, people will find us. So far, people who found us are Addie, Costin, Green Badger Outdoors. Let's see. Those are the only people I see in chat so far. Hey, if you're listening, say something in chat so I know you're there.
Talk to me.
No lurking.
No, you can lurk if you want to, but
Yeah,
Say hi
nice,
real quick.
be nice and just say hi.
There, yeah, just answer the roll call.
Yeah, exactly.
Say hi,
Bueller,
run away.
Bueller,
Bueller.
Bueller.
That's what I was thinking of.
Well, as I was putting the show today, hey Joel, as I was putting the show together today, I was trying to think, okay, well, how can I zazz it up a little bit? You know, what can I say about it? And I realized that we are going to be talking about both birds and bees later in the show, so it made for a provocative title, slightly titillating. Before the show, we were talking about there used to be some sort of thing on YouTube that said you couldn't swear within the first 30 seconds. I thought it was simply that you would get pushed down in the algorithm into oblivion rather than yeeted off the air. Am I
Fucked up rule.
It's not yeeted off the air. You would get demonetized, and you would get basically air quotes allegedly shadow banned.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as opposed to the what we already endure.
But how do we know that for sure? How much of that is lives in people's heads?
That's the reason why I said.
And how much of that is real? That's
we don't know.
Well,
we just don't know what they do.
The new one is pretty concrete, which is if you cuss within the first 8 to 15 seconds, you get demonetized. And if any of your past videos have cussing within the first 8 to 15 seconds, they all get demonetized, and it doesn't matter if you appeal.
Well,
there's several YouTubers who've gotten hit hard with it.
All the more reason to have the intro music.
Exactly. Covers.
Because when you hit the thing to play the intro music, it plays a video over the top of everything, and it mutes everybody. So you guys can swear all you want privately. Mm-hmm. You can just scream into your pillow because nobody can hear you until the music ends.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of like that. So is there anything you guys would like to discuss before we get into the regularly scheduled program?
No, I'm good.
Oh, hi, Keeverdam.
I sure wish there was a way to relate the way people ate with the way cell morphology and nuclear biochemistry, cell nucleus biochemistry operated.
I know, if only. If
only
only
there was a link like that.
If only there was, but we're not ready to talk about that yet.
That's not important right now.
Yeah, I sent a copy of that to Sora. Hopefully, if she can get her Canadian internet working, we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Never mind.
Yeah. So, yeah, if only.
It's just the thing about that is that's something that Brenda and I realized years ago, that we were both more comfortable when we ate once a day.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2007, 2008. We started just, we ditched lunch.
Yeah. Well, you can't live forever, but you can make it feel like you do.
Yeah, exactly.
I want pie. Well, you can't have pie because it's not the correct 30 minutes of the day. But we'll get into that next week. Yeah. Again, we are not ready to have that conversation.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go down the road. It's just
it's okay.
That's
still
it's interesting as hell.
It's still gonna be there. Well, I'm glad I sent that to you. Yeah. This show, unlike a lot of other shows, there's homework. I actually send articles to people to read ahead of time, to look over stuff, and because nobody wants to just listen to me talk the whole time. So I try to, wherever possible, get people to look at stuff. But there's just so much of it. I don't want people not to want to be on the show. So it's kind of a fine line between making it more participatory versus making it such a burden that people don't want to be on.
The dog ate my microphone.
Exactly. Which dog? This dog?
Yeah. No.
That dog?
It would be.
No. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and shift gears to our regularly scheduled stuff here. Come on, cooperate. All right. So I thought I'd actually cover this first, just to make sure that everybody got this memo. Hey, Functional, I thought we'd talk about the comet. He may have stepped away. So there's a comet that should actually be visible in the northern hemisphere, and it has a distinctive green color to it. Now, before you get super excited, you would have to be in really dark skies in order to see this thing naked eye. So a pair of binoculars is probably a really, really good idea.
But my 2.6-inch refracting Tasco telescope is going to be perfect.
2.6 inches?
Yes, 2.6-inch refractor.
Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, this image that's right here was taken with a 12-inch telescope at f4.
That's a 12-inch reflector. That's 12-inch reflector.
It's just the size of the light bucket, but it's 25 100-second exposures. Okay. So it's not going to look like that. But looking at a comet naked eye is actually pretty exciting, or even through binoculars. It's kind of fun to look up and actually see something like that, at least in my personal experience.
All I have to say is Sephiroth is coming.
I got to see Halley's Comet out in the desert of New Mexico, up in the mountains, pitch black at night through a telescope. And that was an amazing thing to see.
Well, that's how you do it.
Oh, my God. It was near Taos, New Mexico, up in the mountains in the summer. It's great.
How high up were you?
8,000 or 9,000 feet. So we weren't, we were above about 30% of the atmosphere. We had about 70% atmosphere.
Yeah, the problem with that is if you're not used to the altitude, your night vision actually goes to crap because of the lower amount of oxygen.
Absolutely true.
So if you're doing astrophotography, you don't care all that much. I mean, it's perfect, right? But if you're going to be doing naked eye astronomy or binoculars or just looking through like a big Dobsonian or something, you really want to spend some time at that altitude ahead of time.
Yeah.
And that would also be a good time to quit smoking because that'll tank your night vision too. The rhodopsin in your eye actually gets impacted by these things. So how?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact mechanism. I didn't bring a diagram for it.
Oh, okay.
We'll leave that as an exercise to the reader.
Okay, but I'm sorry.
It's
inconvenient questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, just don't have anything prepared on that. smoking and altitude can be a problem for a lot of people. So if you want to see this comet, you can see there's a diagram right here. Right now, in like tomorrow morning, if you have clear sky, find the Little Dipper in the morning sky and look just above it, because that's pretty much where the comet is going to be, off to the right a little bit. So just find it that way, or it might actually be below the star at the end of the handle of the Big Dipper.
Wait,
and you might find it.
Where's the comet in this diagram? Where are they saying it is?
Well, you see there's a line and it has different dates on it. So depending on what date
you look,
it's somewhere on that line.
I just realized how all right. So,
yeah.
All right. Basically, because finding the Little Dipper in any kind, you don't even have to be in an urban environment, can be very tricky. Much easier to find the Big Dipper. And as I look at this, the way to do it would be to look at the January 25th one. And here's how you locate it. You go down the handle of the Big Dipper, just follow it all the way over, and you'll see a bright star. You cannot miss a bright red star called Arcturus. Arcturus and the brightest star in the bucket of the Big Dipper make a line. See that? See the big star in part of the Big Dipper, the tipping part of the North Star. I said the North Star. I was saying the wrong star. The North Star that won't do it. It would be about the 27th, I would say, the 27th. If you line up the North Star and Arcturus is easy to find. It's super easy to find off the Big Dipper. That's why I say. And the North Star is easy. Just point north and look up in the sky. The only thing you're going to be able to see about 40 degrees up is or depending on where you are in the northern hemisphere, in degrees up, but kind of roughly, halfway up to the zenith will be the North Star. Locate those two stars, and on January 27th, just move up just a little bit toward Arcturus from the north, from the top of the Little Dipper, from the North Star, the Polaris North. I'm trying to talk, and it's not happening. I'm just so fucking tired.
You're trying to come up with a perfect formula that will work without any ambiguity. And I think just find the Little Dipper up and to the right. Yeah,
that's it. That's right. Find the Little Dipper up and to the right. Exactly.
That reminds me of a joke by Jackie Keeshan, but I don't know if that's YouTube approved.
Straight on till morning.
Straight on till morning. Anyway, let's go ahead.
Sorry, guys.
Make that go away. So there's a comet. So everybody who is in a position to look for it, if you're interested, get up early in the morning before sunrise and go check it out. So next thing is not a comet. Where did we go? Here we are. So the rain was intense. The rain is now gone in California, but I was thinking this kind of amused me. Here's a bear taking a dip in a swimming pool in Southern California in Monrovia.
They're proving that rainy days can be fun. Check out this video from Monrovia. A large brown bear decided it wanted to take a dip in the family's pool yesterday, despite the fact that it was pouring rain.
Can you imagine going into your backyard and finding a bear in your swimming pool?
That's when you pee yourself.
I mean, what do you do if this guy look at how graceful he is getting out of the pool?
Eventually,
all that upper body strength just
shook off all of the water right here before heading on.
He looks cuddly, but he can kill you very, very easily.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Put 4 or 5 slugs from a Mossberg in him, and he won't be killing anybody.
Yeah, but then there's paperwork.
Yeah, especially in California.
Yeah, California, you probably go to prison.
Well, actually, in California, they were bordering on hassling people about removing trees that were about to fall on people's houses. I kid you not, in some municipalities, they're such Nazis about removing trees that they were giving people a hard time about trying to save their homes from trees that were trying to uproot.
Jesus, Mary.
Now, in many of them, they did the right thing and said, okay, if it's starting to tilt and the roots are coming out of the ground, it is as if it has already fallen. You do what you need to do, and we'll worry about the paperwork later. But it's the fact that it even became an issue for some people is, kind of surprising. This is another thing that happened. I thought you might find this kind of interesting.
Has become a lifeline for a Corlitos community.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Daryl Hardy set up the line New Year's weekend when he thought the bridge connecting his community to the main road might go out.
When KSBW was talking about all the weather was coming in, I said, yeah, that bridge is not looking good, so I went ahead and just set up that zip line.
And he's happy he did. By last weekend, the bridge crossing Corlitos Creek had washed away.
Hello?
Cutting off Grizzly Flat
Hello?
Road
Hey,
from
Functional.
Can you hear me now?
Canyon Road,
Yeah.
leaving 7 households stranded.
Yeah, so
you
basically...
didn't say, you haven't said anything during the... I've been talking this entire time. You didn't say anything during the presentation. You're like, Functional, you ready? I said, yeah, and you were like, okay, let's go. Okay, sorry. Can we back up a little bit? So
Sure.
I really wanted to jump on that that eyesight thing because it's really interesting how the body works.
The comet thing?
Well, how at higher altitudes, less oxygen affects your eyesight.
Okay.
So what is the mech? And I'm going to be very quick here because it's just something I like. I find interesting. So, what is the mechanism in which your body oxygenates itself? It's the bloodstream, right?
Mhm.
So when you're at a higher altitude, less oxygen intake means your blood is pumping harder to get less oxygen to the rest of your body. And the back of your eyes are a bunch of veins, and what they do is that they pump really hard, so they engorge because they're pumping harder. And what happens is your body sort of says, okay, well, you need your most immediate function. You don't need farther sight, so we're going to concentrate on what's right in front of you, and that's why. Sorry to derail real quick, but hi everybody.
No, the rhodopsin thing that I mentioned earlier is when you look at night vision. Okay, so you're in the dark, you walk outside, there's no lights. Initially, you can't see all that well, and as you spend more time outside, you become more and more able to see in limited light. And most people of normal health under normal circumstances, it takes almost 30 minutes to reach full night vision capability. Yeah. Now, if somebody were to drive past you with car headlights, or you were to accidentally, turn on the lights inside your car, you're out observing or anything like that, it's gone. You just reset the clock. And the thing I'm talking about is as I understand it, is there's a chemical called rhodopsin, which actually works with the rods, the things that give you the black and white vision typically, that as that builds up, they become more and more sensitive. Now, the rate at which that builds up depends on your health and other factors like nicotine and altitude and all sorts of other stuff like that, the mechanism you're talking about. You want as much of that as quickly as possible so that you can see as well as possible in the dark to use the telescope. And there's other tricks that you use, like a thing called averted vision, because it turns out that actually your maximum light sensitivity is not at the center of your cornea. It's actually a little off to the side because there's that thing, the optic nerve is kind of in the way. So you want to, there's a way you can look through a telescope to have it work. But it is actually pretty cool. As you get older, your night vision isn't as good as it was originally. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. But for any given person, you really just want to get your eyes used to the dark and not be exposed to any light, which is the whole...
Speaking about oxygen, like how oxygen affects your vision, and you guys had mentioned, like you want to spend some time at a higher elevation if you want to pursue something like this, and that's kind of the reason why is it will prioritize your nearsightedness over rhodopsin production, farsightedness. It's just a preservation thing that your body automatically does when you are struggling for oxygen, like a normal oxygen intake, or normal to comparatively to your body, and that's why you needed to adjust for a little bit, get used to it. Your body sort of adjusts, and then boom.
I think you might be talking about the focusing mechanism in the eye.
Yeah.
Not the optic.
Yeah,
optics
yeah.
at the back. So they're two complementary things. You know, one is the ability to focus on distant objects. The other is the ability to eke out the one or two photons. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say one thing? Rhodopsin is what allows the rods in your eyes to absorb photons, to literally perceive light. When rhodopsin absorbs a photon, it actually splits into two molecules. It splits into what's called a retinal molecule and an opsin molecule. And what happens is it goes back; those two go back into a pool, and they slowly recombine. There's actually a cycle that they go back into, but they recombine at a fixed rate. And because it's a gradual process, it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to the dark. And for humans, it usually takes about 45 minutes for your eyes to adjust to the dark. That's what they teach at Buds. And they are all about getting the eyes the eyes sensitive to light and preserving that sensitivity to low light conditions. Anyway, that's where I got interested in it, and it's really interesting how the stuff works. Once rhodopsin is exposed to bright light, it does something called photobleaching. And so the rhodopsin that took so long to build up is gone from your eyes. When that happens, it vanishes, and you essentially go night blind. I mean, you're blind in the darkness until you get enough rhodopsin to perceive that low level light. And this is all happening, virtually all happening in the rod cells that are evenly distributed through the eye.
The cones don't really play a role in this.
No,
so
cones are colors.
Yeah, but
this is grayscale.
But okay, sorry, let me back up here for a moment. Pirates. I've heard a lot of explanations for why you'd see this sort of iconic eye patch. And one of the things that supposedly, one of the reasons you do it is you would keep one eye covered, so you'd have one that was dark adjusted in case you needed it.
I used to know the pirate that legend was associated with. God damn it, that's the thing about being old. This one particular pirate was famous for that, and he was the one. He was the one who lit his beard on fire.
The one with no depth perception? You mean that guy?
Yeah, that guy. The guy he kept running it, kept falling off the ladder.
Yeah, that's just plain stupid. Anyway,
how far is that ship? I don't know, a couple miles.
So anyway,
and the reason why it's green is because it's liquid carbon and cyanide. I thought that was interesting. There's a giant cyanide comet. Maybe we should start flinging people into space.
Well, there's a lot of cyanide and things like that in space.
Yeah.
That was when
Carbon
Halley's
and
comet.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, carbon and nitrogen are common, and they get bonded. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, when Halley's comet was first came around, was it 1908? Can't remember. They knew that there was cyanide there because we had spectroscopes at that point, and there was a little bit of hysteria. People were afraid that the cyanide was going to rain down on them and kill people. But people tend to historically get really stupid when comets show up. Whether it's just thinking that it's the mothership and
you think it's like Pern.
Or they're going to Jonestown themselves.
Coming.
Yeah, or Night of the Comet, the one that had that guy who played Beltran, the guy who played Chakotay in it. That's a terrible movie. That's a really bad
bad sci-fi.
That's a bad one, and he's terrible in it too. Yeah. just for good measure.
He's a nice enough guy, but like, oh my god.
Well, he was actually really young, and he had not exactly honed his craft when he made that movie.
I don't think I've ever seen him in anything good.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Anyway, where were we?
Back
okay,
to
so
the
this
bears and floods and
this I thought Serenity might think this was pretty good. See, even in California, we have people like this who put zip lines in the forest to get around, because that road is not going to be fixed anytime soon.
Not in California.
Gone, baby, gone.
Not in California. And oddly enough, I actually came perilously close to buying real estate right in that neighborhood at one point. It's one of my favorite places on earth. It is stunningly beautiful in a place that's full of stunning beauty. It's a fantastic thing. And there's a little butcher shop down the road from these people in Corralitos that makes that does like smoking in house. They make one of the best breakfast sausage things I've ever had. And they do smoked turkeys and all sorts of stuff. It's a great place.
I have to tell you, when Tim May retired from Intel, or was asked to retire from Intel, that's where he retired to, was Corralitos.
Smart.
Yep.
If I was smart, I would have a house there, and I'd be
owned
using
the
the
top
zip
of
line.
he owned the top of a mountain. Actually, he laid down a bunch of cash, made a bunch of money on it when he sold it.
Well, that's
I
how
don't know
you
if
do
it's
it.
smart. I mean, California seems to be Mother Nature's honey trap. They want to like get you in with all this beautiful woodland scenery and waterways and everything, but then like 3/4 of the year it wants to like make you die of thirst, and the other quarter makes you want to die from storms.
In downtown San Francisco, a 700 square foot studio condominium will run you a cool $1 million.
3,000 million.
Cool $1 million to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get to live in a world-class Skid Row city. It's great.
Yeah.
That's about 25% more than it is here,
wow.
which is actually kind of disgusting given the disparity of like location.
Well, since we're talking about money, anybody bought any eggs recently?
Yeah.
New.
Yeah,
went
egg
to
price. Well,
Kroger.
you have your own. You've got chickens. I don't want to hear your chicken privilege from you.
Chicken privilege.
You
Get
deserve.
your chickens.
Hey,
Get
you
your
have to.
chickens.
You have to fight the foxes off. So if you do the work, you get to keep the eggs.
That's what the
Like the
worst
rest of
It's
us.
like my bean
Honest-
privilege.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the greatest livestock you can have.
Yeah.
And if your city allows it, which mine doesn't because they're assholes, I would totally have chickens.
They're
I
not
prefer-
livestock.
I for their sheer
That's not
tenacity.
livestock.
No?
What,
What are they?
the-
What's the nomenclature?
There's a word for it, and I can't think of it. Come on, Functional, you're smart.
Well, while you're thinking of that, what was Serenity trying to say?
Well,
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
like chickens. I do. When it comes down to birds that produce eggs, I prefer geese because they will fuck shit up.
Are you hoping that a gold one will come out?
No, their eggs are bigger, and they actually.
Okay.
I prefer. I've also eaten turkey eggs before, and I don't mind turkey eggs. They're actually pretty good because we have a turkey who thinks we think we have a turkey that she thinks she's a chicken, which is just fucking funny.
I didn't know
But-
turkeys could think.
They're not that stupid. This one's a partially. She's a partially wild. So her mother was like the ones that are meant to produce the meat too fast to the point where their chest gets too big and they fall over.
Mhm.
And then a wild one kind of did their thing. So she's okay.
Cool
She has-
design.
We've had her for about 4 years and she hasn't put on so much weight that she can't walk. So she's good.
Mhm.
Turkeys and stuff are just considered just poultry. They're not called livestock. They're just called poultry. I call them livestock because I enjoy it.
Do you mean
But-
oviparous?
That might
Meaning
be
eggling? Skep?
probably.
Well, there's a different legal
you know what?
classification.
No,
I know that there's-
no. He's right. They are. In fact, everything I'm saying, I've looked through 2 style manuals and dictionaries since I talked to you last, and everything says that he's absolutely right. That livestock means cattle, elk, reindeer, bison, horses, deer, sheep, goats, swine, poultry, including egg-producing poultry, including chickens, llamas, alpacas, live fish, crawfish, and other animals that are part of a foundation herd, including dairy and producing cattle or offspring. There's 2.5 pages of this. How much more do you want to hear?
I'm good.
Anyway, it's a pretty big category, so he's right to use livestock. I stand corrected.
Well,
Sorry.
anyway, egg prices.
Back to it.
Egg
I'm not having
prices.
a
So,
good night tonight.
Apparently they've
Pri-
gone up down there, huh?
well, egg prices in Chicago, this article I found here from the Chicago Tribune says just a year ago, a dozen large eggs ran an average of $1.79, according to U.S. Department of Agriculture.
They probably
That price
haven't gone
tag-
up.
That price tag more than doubled in 2022, reaching historically high levels, standing at $4.25 as of January 13th.
Fucking Christ.
In December
And the
alone, the
Biden
price rose.
Administration is proud of that.
I'm sure they are.
record
In December alone, the price rose 11%. That is kind of terrible. So here's here's the price of eggs, because I like having some hard data. There's nothing about this graph that doesn't suck. If you like eggs or run a restaurant or do any of those things, if you
God damn.
So
yeah.
one of the things I have noticed is that in my neck of the woods, prices are different for a lot of things, and I don't know if it's just because we're a poorer state and they know they can't get us. But at least here, Eggland's Best, like a dozen of Eggland's Best, I'm going off the Walmart website,
Right,
is $4.88.
When I can't quite see the scale of this, but I bet it's responsibly. I'll bet it's responsibly done, Harry. When I see something with the jinx in it like this,
mm-hmm.
the sharp elbow corners, sharp up and declines, that almost looks like wow. That's crazy.
Well, there's more. Okay,
Those are monthly. Those are monthly.
Yes.
Fluctuations.
So a bunch of eggs
Holy
got
shit.
a bunch of chickens had to be culled because of avian flu.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, depending on where you live, there could be more, or fewer chickens that were killed because of avian flu. Where it broke out, if it happened to break out in a large producer near you, your egg prices went up more than somebody else's. So it is highly regional.
I
Also,
figured because it's not too bad around here, at least if I'm going off what Walmart says.
well, eggs are one of the big three draws that gets somebody into a supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of grocers, now this is just what I read when I was researching this before the show, a number of grocers have been absorbing a lot of these costs and selling eggs at a loss in order to get people to come into their store.
Yeah, the independent grocery store near where I live, from what I've heard, because my family's known their family for generations. They've talked about it a little bit. They don't go into detail, but yeah, they've hinted at such.
Yeah, I mean, the customer comes in, buys a dozen eggs, they eat $3, and then you do the rest of the shopping there. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I might as well get some cereal and some milk while I'm here. And maybe we'll have some roast on Sunday. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Historically, eggs have bucked the trend in fresh, fast wasting produce. Usually, the biggest margins in a grocery store are in produce and meat. The reason is those things go bad. So you're taking a bigger risk. When you take a bigger risk on them, when you sell them, you need to have a bigger profit on them, the evil profit, because more of that stuff is going to go bad. So you need to clear more money per transaction if you're going to stock it. And that's the value, the business case that you make for stocking different items and something like that. The one that bucks the trend and drives grocery managers absolutely insane is eggs, because everybody has to have eggs, and you have vicious competition to provide the lowest cost, best looking egg, to dress eggs up and make them appear as though there's something more than Class A eggs, so they can get an extra 5 or 10 cents a dozen for them. It's really an amazing calculus. Some of the things that go into the price of eggs, people don't realize how complicated it is.
Well, the humble but very important egg. But I would say that sorry, I'll right with you, Serenity.
You're okay.
The produce department and the meat department have different amounts of labor input than the rest of the store. You can put a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese on a shelf and it's okay for 18 months, just dust it every now and then. Right. But, you have to, go out and put the little blankets over all the stuff to keep it moist.
Much faster stock turn.
You have to do stuff to keep the produce in good condition, and you have to do stuff to get the meat ready for sale and to maintain it.
That's a lot of labor.
It's a lot of labor that other items don't have. So I think what Skep is saying is absolutely true. And I'm just saying, in addition, I think the extra labor inputs are probably part of the cost as well.
Yeah, they are. Actually, we could get into how the accounting systems used by grocery stores, but that was about a half a year of my 2-year MBA was studying that crap, and It's just more information than anybody needs. Anyway.
Yeah, I have a similar set of knowledge, but only for the restaurant business. That could be a functional and I stream.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd love to listen to that.
Let's see. So now, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, up here we've experienced similar upward trends of inflation, specifically when dealing with eggs. We have a lot of bloat up here, obviously, because we're the glorious People's Republic of Kanakistan. That we have not one but two separate, multiple governing bodies over eggs. We have the Canadian Egg Board and we have provincial egg boards. So that adds a little bit of because we didn't get hit with as bad of the avian flu cull as you guys did. However, prices have hiked just as badly. And you might think, well, how does that happen? Well, obviously we've had overall inflation, money printing, etc. But one of the biggest things is, drumroll, it is the whole carbon bullshit, global warming stuff, because they're forcing the farmers to be more less impactful with their carbon emissions. It's caused farmers to have to change things, update things, change the way that they not only produce the eggs, but how they're shipped and all this and that. I mean, more government bloat. Well, that's why your egg prices are going sky high in Canada, even though we haven't been hit by nearly the percentage of avian flu cases that you guys have.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I'm sure Klaus Schwab is just delighted at the prospect of us not having agriculture, but we're not going to talk about that. He is just terrible.
Evil.
So now California, of course, tells the rest of the country, hold my beer. We'll show you how expensive eggs can become. So everything that applies that we just talked about still applies in California, except there's more. We also have passed a proposition a while ago that essentially says that every chicken has to have a minimum amount of space to just wander about. We've decided that for animal welfare reasons, we have to have free-range eggs, and we basically made the prices higher. So we aren't allowed to just import eggs from other states. They have to be compliant with animal welfare standards for chickens in California.
Rules.
Yeah.
Actually, chickens typically are not in cages. They keep them in gigantic chicken houses. My father-in-law was the manager for one of Tyson Foods. He was in charge of 3 million, as he used to say, 3 million laying chickens, meaning that 3 million egg-producing chickens. And I used to go to those giant hen houses. These things were just, they were like a half a mile long out in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas. And they just stank to high heaven. They stank like a hog pen, stank worse than a hog pen. But anyway, they're not in cages. I've been in big industrial chicken farms, and they don't cage them. They do confine them to the gigantic, it's a gigantic house full of chickens. I don't know how to describe it exactly, with a whole bunch of it's actually got a lot of air conditioning equipment in it, which is strange because it's open to the outside also. So it basically is air conditioning like crazy, just blowing stuff everywhere. And there's a lot of air blowing through there, and it still stinks. It's all to ventilate it. Anyway,
is it air conditioning or are they swamp coolers?
Well, I think it's more. I don't even think it's swamp coolers. I think it's many fans. But it's like air conditioning level thing. And I remember it was cool. So maybe there was some kind of a swamp cooler. But I remember thinking that's got to be some kind of air conditioning because it's cooler than the air outside.
It's usually what they do is do the top ceiling fans. We're at the very apex of the hottest of the ceilings. This way, it causes the air to circulate. That's usually what we do. But Chickens are as dirty as people think pigs are. That's the thing.
Yeah,
and you can tell that no one in California who's
assholes.
made these rules.
Yeah,
They're
no
gigantic
kidding, hate me.
assholes. It's the reason why I'll take geese, because geese are obligatory assholes.
However, in
Serenity.
smaller groups, they tend to be less assholes. The hens.
Depends
When growing up, I
on
had
what-
2, and they were fine. Once I started working on the farm where there were 200, then they were all
they gang up.
assholes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it totally is that herd mentality
Oh, yeah.
where they can be a little bit more ballsy with the giant mammal standing in front of them. They're also good waste disposal for organic waste. A friend of mine linked me an article. France had a pilot project several years ago where they offered homes pairs of chickens to cut down on organic waste and also produce eggs. So maybe we could go back to not over-regulating chickens and allow people with backyards and cities to have chickens again.
In California, actually, they're really weirdly liberal about a lot of things. Things
allowed
like
to have
livestock within incorporated areas they're actually much more lenient about that. You'd be surprised. Our pocket knife laws are actually pretty reasonable. We're not entirely crazy about all sorts of things because there is so much agriculture here, and a lot of the crunchy green granola Berkeley in the 70s stuff. There are a lot of places where you can put in, like in-law units in the backyard and have chickens and even a limited number of goats and other things, even within a city area.
Funny enough, in the city limits here in Toronto, you could have a goat. You couldn't milk the goat because one would be considered a pet, but as soon as you start milking it, it's considered livestock, and all classified livestock is.
When I was stationed at Alameda in California, I wouldn't say many, but there were a substantial number of residents in Alameda, California, I kid you not, who kept goats.
Yeah.
I believe it.
I'm really not making this up.
Goats are weird.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
goats
reason why. There's a
kinda
reason
cool.
why we tried to domesticate goats and cows and chickens. I mean,
Goats
they're
are
wonderful
weird.
animals to provide for us.
They have weird
Goats.
eyes and they're very strange.
Yep.
So
They're also very cuddly and loving.
with tomatillo
Maybe.
just right. Oh my!
So let me move on to the next thing. I put fast paced in the description for the show, and I'm not living up to the description right now. So hold
Like
on. let me-
Harry's like we.
So here's a
I
meme.
want you guys to talk
It's
more.
the egg stuff has been so bad that now we have a meme. Egg shortage 2023. So instead of he went to Jared, it's like I went to Kroger.
You went to Kroger, yeah.
Diamond egg ring.
I like that.
Yeah, here's sweetie.
Is a herd of chicken a flock?
Yes,
Mob?
flock.
A flock, okay.
Yes.
So yeah, so we got a meme out of it. But to add insult to injury, the trains have not been running in California. I think I mentioned last week that the Starlight Express and a bunch of others were screwed up because of weather. Well, turns out that the railroads here in California are failing to actually get grain to Foster Farms, to their facility that makes the chicken food that Foster Farms and other people use. So of the 5 giant deliveries of grain, they've only received 1 of them recently.
A lot of chicken jerky being made then.
They may need to cull the chickens, because one thing about chickens is if you don't feed them, they just eat each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or anything else they can get their beaks on.
Yeah. So, this is another reason why eggs are double. I mean, they're about $8 a dozen here versus the $4 in Chicago.
Christ.
So anyway, as I was
lines up.
perusing various and sundry things, I actually noticed a number of these annoying NGOs that were advertising like on Tumblr of all places. And I found 2 of them that annoyed me the most that I wanted to share with you. Let me introduce Tear the Paper Ceiling, or STARS. Workers with experience, skills, and diverse perspectives are being held back by a silent barrier. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the world beyond it. Basically,
Is it government?
They're saying that just hire people without degrees. Now, in many cases, that might be true, But I really feel like this is more insidious. This is just another one of those, why should we give people standardized tests before letting them into college? Why should we test them to see if they're competent before they leave college? Why should we have any standards whatsoever for anybody to do anything?
The paper ceiling, it says the invisible barrier that comes at every turn, whatever a turn is, for workers without a bachelor's degree. See also no alumni network, biased algorithms that require a bachelor's degree, require training, degree screens, stereotypes, misconceptions that trained people are better than untrained people, experienced people are better than inexperienced people, misconceptions like that. Harry, does that help?
Exactly. No, the
What a funky.
Yeah.
Part of the
Somebody
reason people used to look at degrees is you wanted to find a person who proved that they could finish something. It wasn't necessarily about the degree in many cases. It was just to show that the person was able to set a goal and meet it.
Or just sit quietly and politely for 4 years without going to jail.
Yeah, I know if you can get like a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or whatever, that you have the skill set to be bored at this company. That's all it is. So
there is a little bit of a trap at the lower end of the labor market, though, where some, let's just use fast food as an example, that if you were to show up and they had two similar applicants, but one had a college degree and one did not, they tended to favor the not having one because it's a type of industry where they want to try to hold on to you for a little while, and the chances of you finding a better job if you have a degree doesn't work in that employer's favor. Everywhere else, obviously, it's definitely a benefit, and definitely, if I was in that position, I would still look at that degree and be like, yeah, but the person committed to something, they worked for something, and whether or not they're here for 2 or 4 months over the next person who's going to be here for 6 to 8 months, like I would rather that person, because I know that I could teach them how to flip these burgers or what have you, and they would show up every day and do it.
That's I agree
or have that
you
feeling
at the very detailed level. But getting back to where Harry was at kind of the higher level, look at this. Look at this. There's a flaw in the labor market. There's no flaw in the labor market. There's no flaw in any market. The market is nothing more than a willing buyer meeting a willing seller. They agree on a price. Gifts are exchanged. They go their separate ways. That's all a market ever is. There's no flaws to it. There's no nothing. Okay. The labor market exists. People hire who they want to hire. People don't hire who they don't want to hire. If you have a bunch of people who you say, people who are like this in some way, but they don't have any qualifications, I want you to start hiring them just because they look like this or have these characteristics. I think that is always wrong-headed.
Yep. You essentially hire a shadow workforce. You hire a whole bunch of people and you say, okay, you are an engineer now. I am? Yes, you are. And here's your protractor. Here's your slide rule. Here's your cubicle.
Do I get a train? Do I get a train?
You get a hat. It's going to be great. And so, you go there, and then you go to the meetings, and you don't get given any important action items, right? You have to carry the TPS report from one department to another. That's all you get to do.
The Japanese call it the window office.
This is okay. So I have an associate's degree in accounting.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of program is for people like me, who have associate's degrees, have community college, military service, and done training programs. This is people who've still done the work to get trained. They just haven't gone for a bachelor's degree.
There are many employers who will take practical experience as in lieu of an education. Now, some will.
If I were hiring someone, do you know how fast I would hire you?
I would hire Serenity and then roofie her and clone her 5 times and then wake her up.
Well, and I understand that, but I think this might be for the people who are, how do I put this? the millennial / late Gen Zers who don't actually know how to talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And while I do see my issue is that this also smells like an affiliate program / MLM. So I'm kind of iffy about it, but they claim that's supposedly what it's about. But they actually put, like, I do give them credit. They actually put that they do represent 50% of white workers and rural Americans, which is more than some places do. But once again, this could all be absolute fucking bullshit.
What is that? Just because of the population disparity of certain demographics versus like actual? Because it does seem like what Skep alluded to is that they want to reverse course on Western advancement and saying, oh well, no, forget about your education or your work ethic or whatever. What skin color are you? What demographic are you from? Like these are the things that should be out of your mind when when you're selecting candidates for something. You should be looking at the tangible factors that will actually play into the position rather than immutable characteristics of the person.
I feel like this is the slippery slope is my problem. You know, if you go and talk to somebody in the John Birch Society, you're going to agree with them on 70% of stuff. The fact that there are aspects of this that seem like, oh yeah, that seems reasonable, doesn't really get me away from the fact that it's happening at the same time as everybody's making these equity-based arguments. So if an outcome isn't equal, therefore there must be some sort of implicit bias, and that's not always the case. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that we turn into France, where basically where you get high test scores and you're automatically guaranteed a job, and that job is yours because you've won it, because you have high test scores, and you can just sit there and be incompetent for your entire life, and because you have high test scores coming out of university, that's your job, right? You know, and that's the way they sort of look at it. So I'm not suggesting that we do that, but the whole idea that everything is inherently unequal, or that things are stereotypes. No, you actually want people to have training that's needed to do a particular job when that job needs training.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. It's one of those things. It looks good, much like their paper sailing. It looks good on paper. What they actually fucking do, that's what the years will tell.
Yep.
But on paper, because they're aligned with like Google and Walmart and
I don't trust
LinkedIn.
them. I don't trust these people.
They're also aligned with like Comcast and IBM and College Board. I don't trust them either.
Still don't trust them.
So you should never emulate the government.
There's Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There it is.
There's going to be no disagreement about the next one. So buckle up.
All right.
I introduced to you Climate RX. Care for your health, care for our climate. Climate RX helps you to protect your health in a changing climate by providing information, guidance, and ways to take action. All of us can for our health and our climate. Find out how today. To begin, pick the option that best describes you.
That color palette too.
So what they're trying to do is basically teach health professionals to evangelize people about climate change when they come in for visits, like office visits, under the guise of climate is affecting your health. Let's talk about why socialism is the only answer.
It's really the best way.
It really is, because we haven't really tried it appropriately. I think that we should let high school dropout Greta Thunberg tell us how we should run society, because she seems qualified.
The funny thing is that these things, I haven't seen the Star Wars one, but I have seen the Climate RX one get memed to death on Tumblr. Like, it's just the entirety of Tumblr just makes fun of them.
Yeah, well, they deserve it.
Well, it's one of those things, it's like, why are you on Tumblr? Like, you're not going to get anybody on Tumblr to agree with this shit. They're going to look at you and go,
Tumblr's where we go for comedy.
Tumblr's where most of the comedy that TikTokers talk about started. Same
you get this extra badge with like a 2D barcode on it, and you're going to put it next to your hospital ID. If I was a hospital administrator and I was paying you to do a particular job, and I walked up and said, "What is that hanging next to your ID?"
Take that shit off.
I don't pay you to do that.
Yeah.
Well, wait, it says Climate Picks empowers health professionals to help your patients, colleagues, communities, and even elected leaders to understand the connection okay, between climate change and health, how to protect their health in changing climate. By the time somebody finished reading that, I would have already punched them in the mouth.
Well, Skep, imagine
violent.
You're in getting the getting the poke. The doctor's checking your prostate,
Yeah.
and they say, "Hey, Skep, while you're in here, let me talk to you a little bit about CO2 emissions."
Well, the finger's in.
Or you can segue to a conversation about methane. Yeah.
Well,
I did have salmon for dinner. It's. I know I'm not the only one because I have other friends who feel this way, but I'm curious what you folks have, because we've talked about it before. We all do care about the environment.
Yes.
Like, we all want to live
it's okay.
in some kind of balance with their environment. We don't want to just pollute the shit out of everything and then die as a result. Like, but the whole climate change push has pushed me in the opposite direction where,
100%.
I don't care anymore. You know what? You want to keep pushing this climate shit? Yeah, I'm gonna litter. I'm going to not care anymore. I'm going to shit on the corner of the street. I piss all over a fire hydrant. I don't care anymore. You know what? If somebody walked up to my door now and said, "Hey, we'll pay you to store this toxic waste in your backyard," I'd be like, "Sure, what the hell? I don't fucking care anymore." And it's all these assholes' fault. It's all these assholes' fault.
Yeah, my sheer contrariness, I have to fight it because, my sheer contrariness just wants me to go, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, if you're going to sit here and tell me what to do, and I don't mind being told what to do because I can handle that.
I feel that, Serenity.
Trying to make me, when you're trying to guilt me, I'm Jewish. One, fuck you. No one can do, well, Catholics can, but Jews do guilt better. You're not going to win because I'm just going to look at you and go, fine, you do it first, motherfucker, and then we'll talk.
What? Serenity, you don't want to be a good Jew? What's wrong with you?
I am a good Jew. I grow my own food. God damn it, eat me. This is the thing. For me, at least, it's sorry. It's just for me, at least.
Couldn't eat you. It wouldn't be kashrut.
Very true. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like, for me, it's very, very funny. Because I have environmentalists who try to talk shit to me, and it's like, all right, let me break this down for you. One, all of my heat's done by natural gas, which is a natural gas thing around here, and we haven't had to cut into anything, and we almost barely use any because we use the buck stove. Two, we're planning on getting solar panels at some point, but we're not going to buy a whole heck of a lot. But that's going to cut down carbon. I don't drive a lot because we grow most of our food. What food that we haven't grown is either canned or stored somewhere else or is in a root cellar. We have chickens, we have cows, we have goats, which we do milk the goats. I make butter at home. If you want to come at me and talk about environmental impact, you need to get your own shit together because I think I'm doing better than you.
No, you're doing better than a lot of people. I've had this conversation with a bunch of people. Like, for instance, if you have a Prius and get really self-righteous, but you have a 2-hour commute because you wanted to buy a house in the Central Valley, it's like, just shut up. He said the guy with the Hummer is doing a lot less than you are. Not to mention, we have tons of people here in the Valley the Silicon Valley, who come from other countries, move here, and then fly home twice a year. Yep. My carbon footprint is infinitesimal compared to the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who do 1 to 2 trips a year, 13 time zones away. But anyway, be that as it may, I wanted to address what Matthew was saying.
That's that's one of my friends from.
If you have experience, it should be. I am definitely one of those people that when I've hired people would look at experience in lieu of degrees.
Me too.
Not a problem. All that most employers traditionally really wanted to see was that you had what it took to do the job. And if you've done the job or you've shown that you can do a job, I mean, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I just don't trust these people because what I think they're going to do is just they're just trying to find a way to force employers to accept people who are just completely unqualified by any measure.
Well,
and that's my concern.
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's literally in their partners.
Yeah, guilt by association.
And something like that, because I went through, obviously you guys know, I went through a similar thing where I was at the largest media company in Canada doing graphic design work, making good money, hated the environment, and I did the opposite. I went into a more trades, the culinary field, and I had to eat a little bit of shit at the beginning and take a significant pay cut. But that's because they knew, hey, this guy can learn stuff. He has a degree. he worked. You know, we can train him to do something, and so eventually, after that sort of first year of basically peeling vegetables for various restaurants, eventually you get more, and then I use that as leverage to move to a new restaurant to make more money, a little bit more on par to being a better wage, a much better wage, but. Yeah, as long as they can see that on your resume, hey, and just to Matthew's point, hey, you worked in this construction field here for 4 years and this next one for 6 years, there's some staying power there. They look at that and they say, okay, well, this person obviously has some skills. He learned to do some things, and he was at these companies for a while. I just wouldn't use whatever company that we were looking at. I would maybe look at something a little bit more local and a vocational company and be like, hey, look, help me transfer these skills on paper, on a resume, to be a little bit more what's the word, using your words to sort of bend it in a new perspective. You're not lying, but you're saying, okay, well, I learned XYZ. Now that's not going to be transferable directly into office work, but what was the root of those, like the learning of the skills, the self-sufficiency, those kinds of things can be transferred, and you just got to reword it in a better way.
Yeah, I hate the whole resume game, but it's just a thing. It's just a thing people have to do. Yeah, well, yeah, my nemesis, Elizabeth Holmes, the person who tried to set up Theranos, but when her technology didn't work, she just faked it.
Totally not your girlfriend. Totally
not my girlfriend. So last year, she apparently bought a one-way ticket to Mexico, but didn't actually act on it. I think if you're going to try to feign ignorance on something like this, if you've been convicted of a crime and you're not going to jail because you're busy having a baby and because you're rich and blonde, maybe don't get a ticket to Mexico that's one way. At least pretend that you're planning on coming back. Get like a return trip ticket at the same time.
No.
She's
what kind
of gonna vanish.
She bought a one-way ticket to Mexico, a country which we have extradition with. So maybe that's just a jumping off point to
probably
some other place,
Argentina, and that's where you can't get at them.
But she's been milking this whole "don't send me to prison" thing for a while now. She just looks sad and gets all moist around the eyes, and talks about how she's just a lost little girl and she didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to.
But now prosecutors have said no.
Lawrence, Colorado. I swear to God.
Prosecutors have now just said no. Enough of this crap. We need to send her to actual jail.
Yeah.
So it looks like it may possibly happen, assuming she doesn't find some way to sneak out.
So go to prison until all of those investors are made whole.
So go ahead. Go ahead, Functional, and I have a comment.
I'm not a legal person, so like this is a genuine question. So what would that impact be on the? Are they still proceedings? Like, what sort of impact would that have on her as somebody who they said, okay, well, you're not a flight risk, but now she is a flight risk, so. Where does that leave the legal system in regards to her? Are they going to? Because you said they're going to try to.
Well, they're trying to talk to the judge and say, okay, we need to just lock this woman up because she's a flight risk and she needs to just serve her time. Her attorneys are arguing that she should be allowed to stay out on bail while the appeal is going on. Now, they can stretch that appeal out for a very long time.
Plus,
during which she'll have lots of opportunity.
She gets out on bail anyway, right? So she can just kill somebody.
Well, there are instances with evictions where people have actually worked the system for over 10 years in this one case.
Yeah, I know.
By continuously just sort of stretching things out so they can never get kicked out of that house. But anyway,
can't they do like emergency injunctions or something to like freeze accounts? Or
they're working.
By the way, in New York, a man dodged eviction for 20 years.
I think that's the case I'm thinking of.
On Long Island. Yes.
Yeah, we had one here.
23 years. 23.
That was 6 years. Working the system.
He was finally booted. He was finally booted after 23 years on November 13th. 2021.
Good.
Well, he must have a bunch of money saved up from not paying rent.
He filed 4 lawsuits and 7 bankruptcies over the course of the years, just to stuff up the courts.
Red
They
tape.
finally made it all the way through.
God damn.
So I don't know if Joel is still watching. He was here earlier. Let's see. Is Joel, you still here? Because I've got something that I think you and I might be the only people who care about. So I won't make it last too particularly long. But this right here is a site called Raspberry Pi Locator. Now, in the entire freaking world, if you want to buy one of these little sort of hobbyist embedded computer things and do something with it, there are sites all over the place. And right now, out of the entire freaking planet, there's only two stores that are selling the most anemic, shitty version of Raspberry Pi that you could possibly come up with. I can go down here and there's like pages and pages and pages, hundreds of different stores. None of them are in stock anywhere. And it has been like
shortage in
it has
America
been
too?
like this forever. Months and months and months and months, and it's driving me absolutely crazy because I actually bought some equipment that needs some of these, like a specific type of it, and I need 8 of them, and I can't even get one.
Or is it the raspberry shortage, or is this because of the eggs?
Yes, both.
Raspberry Pi.
But the Raspberry Pi is basically just a little computer that uses almost no power and costs about $50-ish. And for that, you can do a lot of the things a desktop can do. But more importantly, it has lots of input-output pins. So you can use it to control your beer making or your wine making or your chicken coop. You could have an automatic chicken coop that feeds the chickens and waters them and turns on the giant fans automatically. But you know what? You can't buy these things anywhere in the world because the freaking supply chain is broken. And I don't think people realize just how broken it is.
How much are they right now?
Well, you
Is that price on
eBay. You can go on eBay and spend $200 on one that's worth about $30.
So they're up to about 200. Okay, I wanted to know what the supply demand.
They're not worth about 30. They're worth $200.
Well, if nobody's buying, no, that's the asking price. They're only worth $200 if somebody pays $200. Ha ha. Economics.
True.
Yes.
That's true, but it's not $30. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
worth
no, I was just
$30
basically-
unless somebody bought it at $30 was my point.
Yeah. So the point is the supply chain is absolutely screwed because I was looking for this particular part and it's been out of stock for months and months and months.
Is this because
It's
of the
driving
chip
me
shortage?
absolutely nuts. It's because of the chip shortage. It's because
And these aren't very like high demand chipsets, right?
a lot of these are in high demand. They use them for a lot of industrial things. People are making industrial type uses of them. And so the demand is high. But I mean, this is ridiculous. This is worldwide. There's a few shitty ones that are available in the Netherlands and in, I guess this is Chile or China. I'm not really sure. Yeah.
I think it's Chile.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't belabor the point. So for people like me and Joel, probably, this is kind of a big deal. But not everything is terrible. Tesla files $776 million expansion plans for Texas Gigafactory. So things are going well enough for Tesla that their ginormous factory in Texas, they're trying to expand it with almost $1 billion worth of additional stuff.
Have you seen? I just drove by that just a few weeks ago when I went down to see my dad in San Antonio. If you take the bypass, you pass 100 yards away from the front of it. That's on the fastest posted speed limit in the United States, that stretch of highway by Tesla, and the posted speed limit, and I have pictures of this of the several signs that is 85 miles an hour.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So
Is that fast?
It's to have a posted speed limit like that. Yes, because it means that everybody's doing 120, and with the Texas correction to the speed.
Holy shit, that's almost 140 kilometers an hour. Jesus.
Yeah. That is pretty high. So
That's pretty fast.
So things are going particularly well for Tesla, but the economy is
They're
kind of
really building on. That's what I was trying to say.
They really are building on, and he's really happy that he moved a lot of this stuff. It was going to be in California, but California took a giant dump on him, and he said, okay, screw you.
Wow.
Amid demand concerns, Tesla cuts prices by up to $13,000 in the United States. So in the models that are supposed to be, and Europe, the models that are supposed to be more consumer-oriented type things, not the super high-end ones, they're looking at 20% price cuts up to $13,000. Now, this is great for anybody who's been holding off on buying one of these because they're too expensive. If you're lucky enough to live in a place where you can have a charger at home. But it's actually annoyed some people more than a little bit because there are some people, let's see if I can get this to load, who are not too happy about having bought a Tesla only to find out that the next day the price dropped by 20%.
Next day.
Tesla owners not happy about price cuts, sobbing in the fetal position.
I mean,
this amuses me so much. I mean, this is a thing that happens, right? If you're the early adopter, relatively speaking, you pay more, but you get to enjoy the thing for longer. So if you've got a Tesla that's showing up next month, you're going to be driving that for months longer while this other person waits for the Gigafactory to be expanded. So what is that worth? I mean, what are you going to do? Just never buy anything because the price might drop? I mean, that's the alternative. I mean, it's hard for me. I mean, on the one hand, I have a little bit of sympathy, but it's very, very small. I think that this is opening up the possibility for a lot more people to buy his cars. And generally, this is good for consumers.
That 20% for most of those people who bought that is not the difference of whether or not they have food for their children or shelter, or much less that. It probably doesn't impact their lives at all. It just pisses them off. It's the principle of the thing. They think it's the principle of the thing, but guess what? Companies have the right to charge whatever price they want to. That's their weapon. Their price is the quality of their product are their weapons that they take to the market, and the weapon that the consumer has is the dollar. And if they change their price, they change their price. You can't get mad about that. You can say, "Boy, that was bad luck," but you can't say I'm a victim and go after them and sue them. And that's what some of these assholes are going to do.
Of course they are, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Of course it is.
And I think it's a smart move by Musk and Tesla, because if you can get more units out there, that will drive up the demand for the infrastructure to be put into place. Obviously, a lot of places are already building the infrastructure, but it might light a bit of more of a fire under their butts. And places that were a little iffy on whether or not to do this, if they report, hey, we sold an extra 20,000 units this year, then that would put the demand for more charging stations, both in urban areas and along popular highways and byways, could pan out.
Well, it's smart business to get as much money to basically, in a perfect world, you would find out, customer would walk in, you'd have some ability to determine what they'd be willing to pay for a thing. And then when they said, how much is it? You'd say, it's that number. And then you would get the maximum amount that every customer was willing to pay. So when you introduce a product and you say, here's the Founders Edition, it comes with a certificate. or like a special cup holder or whatever it is, but you have the Founders Edition and you charge more for that. And then after a while, you go more mainstream and you drop the price and you ship a lot more units. That's all that's going on. And if the fact that you didn't wait longer, if you were willing to pay that, like Skep said, you were willing to pay that price, it was worth that to you before. Yeah. You're just bent out of shape because sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, that's all right.
Nobody has hurt you.
And I think
nobody touched you in a bad place. It's fine.
I don't remember exactly where I heard it. I believe it was Aiden Paladin, but it could have been somebody else. Mm-hmm. It was the disappearance, or rather the diminishing ability of younger generations past the boomers of the art of negotiation. So a lot of millennials will walk into a car dealership and pay the sticker price, as opposed to where our generations might have haggled a little bit. The art of negotiation, the art of haggling is disappearing with the younger generation, because It's just how the excuse me, how the how marketing and advertising has what it's and the fuck, I forget the name of it, but the economic stores things, whatever, how they've been like sort of training younger people little by little to just sort of accept sticker prices as opposed to negotiating.
Yep.
I thought it was just an interesting aside. Sorry to.
It is actually
buzz.
anything that Aiden Pellin talks about is an interesting aside.
She's amazing.
Yeah, and well, here's the segue. Well, not amazing is Jacinda Ardern. We're into the block I call the government we deserve. She's just tired and terrible and is not going to run for re-election. So I don't know if this is a repudiation of her terrible leadership non-skills during COVID, or if she's just tired of having people harangue her and she just wants to go do something else.
Well, she essentially said that she wouldn't run if the people didn't want her. And from what polling looks like for right now in New Zealand, they don't want her. So instead of losing, she's just taking herself out of the running.
Yeah. She's going to quit while she's ahead.
Well, no, we don't woohoo until we find out who takes over.
It's pre-rage quitting. You know what? What the scary thing in New Zealand is? That population is cucked. They are so thoroughly cucked. They like this shit, and
there's a lot of them that don't.
They will elect another one just like her, in my opinion.
Because there's a lot of rural people who see past the bullshit. I hate to generalize like that, but that's generally what it is like in New Zealand.
It's pretty polarized.
I mean,
is it really?
I know we're never going to see it, but this woman needs to be facing some kind of tribunal for human rights abuses.
She never will. Yeah, she never will.
She never will. But I mean,
in a perfect world,
any justice in the world.
When monkeys fly out my butt.
Yeah, die alone, you bigot. Yeah, good job, Jacinda.
Well, there's a lot of the Maori population that doesn't like her, even though she bent over backwards to try to suck their dicks, and they were just like, "No, we don't like you.
No,
like,
you don't
fuck yourself."
Oh yeah, it's completely backfired on.
You don't want to cross those people.
Well, I mean,
you can disappear.
Well, that's the thing, though. It was just the stuff that she. It's kind of like what you see with the Latino/Hispanic population up here. Is there's a lot of bending over backwards to kiss their ass, and it doesn't work out because they don't understand the basic nature of the very people they're trying to get behind them, and take conservative and liberal out of it. Like they just don't understand how their minds work because they don't even bother to figure it out.
Leave
and then
me
they get
out
surprised.
of it, pendejo.
Yeah, it's like they just get surprised. And they're like, "What? What the fuck?" But yeah, no, she's taking the coward's way out. It's you're not even going to face. I agree, but at the same time, it's like I'd want to see her get reamed in the fucking debate.
She's too good for those people.
Well, have you guys heard about George Santos, the lying liar in New York State who got elected to Congress?
Yeah,
this is why I hate Republicans. Great example right here.
Yeah. Well, so George Santos has. He's on a few committees. I believe he's on the decorating committee. That's one of the jobs that he got. He has another equally stupid committee thing that they put him on. They're keeping him.
Ironic.
They're keeping him just off, far away. But he has a number of aliases that he's gone by traditionally. One of them is Anthony DeVolder. And on the Wikipedia page for Anthony DeVolder, apparently there was some claim that he once appeared on the Hannah Montana show. Now, why, of all the things to lie about, why this? Okay, on a Wikipedia
Hannah Montana,
page,
they'll go for that. They'll never check
Anthony
that.
DeVolder,
they don't check that stuff.
An alias Santos used repeatedly, Politico reports that DeVolder claims to have appeared on the popular Disney Channel series Hannah Montana, which ran from 2006 to 2011. The Wikipedia page has since been removed and was last updated in 2011. It lists his birth date, which matches Santos, and says he appeared on Hannah Montana and The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Miley Cyrus starred in Hannah Montana and blah, 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 blah. The page also contends he was discovered by a Hollywood producer known for producing Independence Day by Steven Spielberg.
Independence Day.
Yeah. Rife with
Steven
misspellings,
Spielberg.
The page says that he started his stage life at age 17 as a gay nightclub drag queen, and with that won several gay beauty pageants.
I think this was made up by someone else and not him.
It wasn't updated. It wasn't updated. It was last updated on 2011, though.
The thing is, we don't know who he pissed off.
That's a long con. That's a long con.
When you say it was updated on 2011, where are we getting that 2011 date from? Is that something that's published on a website, some private website someplace, or is that something?
No, it's Wikipedia.
Well, there's an update history on Wikipedia.
That I didn't realize.
Yeah, so it's open to anybody.
Wikipedia. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the thing is, we don't know. This is all just we're just having fun here. Wait, do I need my allegedly thing? Where's my allegedly?
Do the allegedly.
Okay, allegedly. Okay, it claims that his first role was in a 2009 movie called The Invasion, starring Uma Thurman and Alicia Silverstone. There's a 2007 movie called The Invasion, but in it stars Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. Dos Santos has admitted that some of his resume facts were embellishments. Allegedly. He denied that he performed in drag under the name Kitara Ravache, despite several videos, photos, and interviews with former friends that have come to light. I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know how much of it's false. I just know that it's a great time to be alive. This man
makes me so happy.
This is the distraction that we needed.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what they're going to do about this guy.
Before the Republicans get all high and mighty and moral, they can take a look at their own house, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to just step back from all the moralizing, take a deep breath, try and figure out why the other guy doesn't agree with them, walk a mile in their shoes, and try and make some agreements and go forward and run the country. They really need to start acting like adults. If they don't, this is going to get really tedious.
Yeah, I actually have a write-up for that topic in my notes, but it didn't actually make today's show schedule. There's so much stuff to talk about.
Didn't mean to, yeah.
No. I mean, we'll come. I mean, this is not going to be the last time we talk about George Santos.
Hey, man, at least they're putting him on committees that don't mean a damn thing.
Yeah, he is.
He's on the decorating committee?
He's on the decorating committee.
Put him on that?
Yeah. That's just from memory, so. I mean, would you rather talk about his alleged Wikipedia page or start talking about David Crosby? Because nobody wants to talk about David Crosby.
No. Not really, no.
Yeah, not really.
Screw up.
Yeah. Let's see. So we're not talking about that because it turned out to be fake. Oh, okay. Serenity. So there is a thing that I asked you to take a look at.
Yes.
Remember, I sent you this sort of thing. Can I show the Huberman thing first, and then we'll talk about it?
Go for it.
Okay, so there's there's a thing that's sort of making its rounds in medicine. This sort of convenient theory. The problem is that nobody really agrees on what any of it means, if it means anything. But somebody who I actually sort of find interesting and has good information and hasn't steered me wrong in the past made the following statement. So here for your edification.
It is the case that the ratio of what's called the D2 to D4, so the D2 is your index finger, so your thumb is D1, then D2 would be your index finger that you would point with, middle finger is D3, and then D4 is the so-called ring finger. If you look at the finger length ratios of men that self-report as homosexual, they have either the typical male pattern of D2 to D4 ratio or a hyper-masculinized D4 to D2 ratio. Now,
okay.
Everybody is staring at their hands.
Everybody is staring at their hands.
I remember when this made the rounds on Tumblr and Pinterest years ago, so I've already done that.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeah, so if you do, if I do a search looking for finger length D2, D4, the amount of crap, that shows up, about all sorts of stuff, giftedness, homosexuality, promiscuity.
This is just as cromulent as phrenology, Harry. I don't know what you're talking about. It is established science, damn it.
Yeah.
Trust the science. I am the science.
Determine your testosterone level with this finger test.
If I remember right from the Tumblr post from years ago, this started because of the fact that your ring finger, the length of it is based partially on how much testosterone you had in the womb.
That's the theory. But the trouble is it's very hard to measure that without messing up the kid.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So we don't actually know.
And that's where all the shit started though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, okay,
dude.
then homosexual men have less testosterone. Like, and that's where they all started to go, where it's like, well, this shows you don't have enough testosterone, so you have to do this, or you can't, so you're fucked anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So you just need to take yourself out of the gene pool. I've heard that argument. And all this other shit. And it's kind of like, or if you're a woman and that ring finger is too long, you don't have the features that certain types of men will like, so you might like. I've heard everything from.
You watch too much Tate.
No, I actually
Joke,
I'm on
don't worry.
Tumblr too much. I'm on Tumblr too much.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like this, because this is a
Pussy
post from
problem.
years ago on Tumblr, like years ago, and it was just this whole thing of like too much testosterone, not enough estrogen, too much estrogen, not enough. It was just a whole like, and that's where this started from.
This reminds me of being a teenager in the late 80s, early 90s, and at camp, kids would run around and be like, show me your palm, and you put your hand up, and if you were a dude,
Yep.
they'd measure the tip of the index finger to like your thumb and be like, oh, that's your penis length. And then for the girls, they'd be like, okay, so from the pinky finger to the thumb, that would be like your boob size when they fully develop or something. It was
If you
so
put them flat to your
stupid.
chest, that's what it was. If
Flat
you put
to your chest, that's whatever.
and that's how
it's
big your
just
boobs are gonna get,
stupidity. Like that's
Yeah.
what this reminds me of: childhood stupidity,
Yeah,
pseudoscience.
because people don't want to get just blood tests done. Because God forbid.
Well, okay, but that's the 1,400 studies that blow me away. We have
Oh, I agree.
paid directly or indirectly, with taxpayer money and other money for 1,400 different groups of researchers to look at a question which may be entirely meaningless.
Yep.
But isn't that good?
It's not uncommon.
Well, I mean, if you want academia to be a jobs program, it's great.
It already is.
I mean,
job program.
I much rather
Just one of management's
I get where functional's coming from, because I much rather the info be out there to discredit this shit.
the
than for
spirit
it to
of the
just
thing, not
sit
the
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not
then-
all just trying to debunk it. There's a bunch of them that are trying to make their bones
They're
by
trying to prove it,
proving
yeah.
one thing or the other.
Oh yeah.
So they make some sort of pronouncement
I'd
about,
rather
well,
have a
you know,
large sample size to
Hey,
tell the
wait,
people who are pushing
wait.
this to be like, fuck off.
Correlation, causation.
Yeah.
Everything.
Now we don't need that because so Huberman is not an idiot, and he's not a
So-
joke,
Not.
and
I will
he's
agree.
I wanna
he's
see a
making the
smoking
statement
gun.
like it's definitive. And
Yes.
I want to see the smoking gun that links this. I want
Yeah.
to know the chain of enzymatic and reactions and ion exchange changes that occur to cause this physical thing to happen. Other that, before that happens, fuck off.
Because your structure doesn't change much other than the progression into old age. Things shrink or
This is
whatever.
just
But like
this
your
is a mirage.
testosterone,
This is a
your
statistical
testosterone can go
mirage.
Yes.
So right on its face, like it doesn't make sense because okay, maybe if it was in the womb, maybe there was some link there, but like anytime out of the womb, it doesn't matter because your finger can be one length your entire life, barring any accidents, but your testosterone or your hormone levels can ebb and flow. Like,
well, that's what they're
irrelevant.
claiming is that it's is that the testosterone or the androgens in utero is what caused the difference in the finger length.
Okay,
Now,
and why not length of anything else? There's other tissue that grows faster than your finger.
Yeah, well, so the argument is against it. Is that the different? There may be these differences that people have self-reported. They ask a bunch of gay men in San Francisco to self-report the lengths of their digits. Okay.
Yeah, like they're going to tell the truth.
That's an
wait,
accurate way to conduct research.
Yeah, this is from a self-reported thing.
One of them is one of the 1,400 studies is self-reported from gay men in San Francisco.
Gay men have lower
correlated studies.
Yeah. So, but there are people who claim that it's simply
see the
that in the case of men, as your hands grow larger, men frequently have larger hands, not all fingers grow at the same rate. And so simply not factoring that in, okay, so there's differences and men seem to have more of a difference than women do on average. Big deal.
Here's the thing for you. How about this? In 60 years or nearly 60 years of playing the guitar and banjo, the fingers on my left hand are substantially longer than the fingers on my right hand. They used to be the same length. When I was 10 years old, they were the same length. My index finger on my left hand is almost 1/4 of an inch longer than the index finger on my right hand. And it used to be slightly shorter.
I have the one finger that I keep telling people to pull, and that's that one's gotten longer.
I'm really not joking.
No, I believe you.
It's years of doing these exercises and just running up and down scales on the fretboard. My reach is much farther on my left hand than my right hand. Right?
Yeah,
thumb to little finger.
Well, I mean, Serenity read this article too. I mean, the thing that I'm surprised by is that there are so many articles. I frequently find that if something's easy to measure, right? If it's easy to take a particular measurement, there's always some idiot who will want to measure it a bunch of times and then try to make something out of it. Do you think, does that seem like a possible explanation? Just because it's so easy, you don't need any equipment or anything. You just wander around with a tape measure and then, money, please.
My intuition says this must be true. Oh, look, here's some fancy looking management porn I can throw together on a spreadsheet. And, I bet if you get back into that, I would want to see their regression models and understand some confidence intervals and stuff like that before I would before I would accept that. I would want somebody to really go over their statistical math. I'll bet there's been no good audit of that. One of their peers who agrees with them about all this shit said, yeah, I've reviewed it. It's fine.
There are people who've actually looked at the numbers that have come through. Do you know where that was in here? There was a.
I think it was past the forecasting finger.
How far down into the numbers did they get?
Yeah, there's the beginning.
Yeah, people who actually understand numbers and statistics have looked at it and they said that if this is true, you wouldn't see this type of data.
Yeah. It's
If what was true,
if the hypothesis about testosterone was true, you wouldn't see this type of distribution. Let's see, what is it? Researchers have used scanners, photocopiers, calipers, rulers, even x-rays to assess finger length. In some studies, the subject measured themselves. Scientists can swiftly and cheaply amass a large amount of data. One BBC-sponsored online survey on sex differences gleaned self-reported finger ratios of more than 240,000 people. I don't know of a more accurate biomarker for prenatal androgen that can be readily measured in adults. So this is somebody who's claiming that the thing works.
Breedlove, I love the name.
Yeah, finger ratios also appeared to meet.
Wait. I don't know where I am. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay, thank you. I just need to parse that.
So I put the link in the chat. I mean, obviously, you can look through this at your leisure, but the fact that so many scientists are spending so much time looking at something of possibly such little meaning is
such
kind of staggering
I'm
to
actually
me.
not going to spend any time on it at all, Harry. I've got better things to do with the
You should just practice your chords.
the few remaining minutes I have left to me in this.
I wonder how many of those 1,400 were actual studies.
Yeah,
and how many were like graduate studies or something simple that a graduate thesis or something like.
A guy wrote some numbers on a napkin.
Well, that's the thing. It's like how many of these were actually like? Because I'm sorry, nobody who's doing any study worth a shit is going to let anybody measure their own anything.
Well, at least it's not feminist glaciology, but which is actually a thing. But it's not much better than that. So just as a little palate cleanser, is it wrong of me? Do I have a dirty mind because I think this is odd?
Oh, it's of course the Los Angeles Tar Pits. Of course,
yeah. So there's the Los Angeles Tar Pit, and you just pull this lever over and over again, and the mastodon's trunk sort of grows.
It looks like it's made out of plastic cups that they painted brown.
I don't. This just seems weird, like a weird exhibit to me. It's like we're trying to come up with.
Is the spritz of water from the trunk at the end?
I don't know, man. She looks like a natural at this. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
A lot of practice.
Okay.
Probably has an OnlyFans.
Disturbing
moving
that
on.
for
It
children.
reminds me of a joke.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't even paint them like white or off white. Like
The punchline, the punchline of which is, I did it the hard way, a quarter at a time. Okay, anyway,
Pepper cone.
Mala?
so, fish. Now, I'm actually very happy about this because you know how I feel about fish. A pair of orcas in Australia have gotten very, very good at just killing sharks. And they really like to go after great white sharks because apparently their hearts and livers are delicious.
Somebody threw a case of Chianti overboard, and
this pair of orcas has gotten so good at killing great white sharks that they're actually avoiding Australia.
It's like, nope, we're done. Goodbye.
Let that sink in. The great white shark capital of the world has seen a huge
by killer dogs.
has seen a huge decrease in the number of great white sharks because they've just gotten so good. They don't even eat the whole thing. They just basically kill these things, eat their liver and their heart, and then move on to kill another one. They're connoisseurs.
Generously leave the rest for the seagulls.
Yeah. I thought this was a great story.
I think that's just wonderful.
Yeah, because fuck sharks.
You're going to say that, Harry, until the great white sharks move to California.
I love them. Me a doggo. I hate me some shark.
Hey, I think you're onto something here, Serenity. I think
they're all just going to start camping Los Angeles and San Jose beaches. Just going, all right, we can't get one group of white people. We can get the other group. Man, they got a lot of drugs in their system, though. It's fine, Wilbur. It's fine.
It's fine. But yeah, I think this is score one for Team Mammal.
Hell yeah.
I mean, great white sharks are orcas are kind of dicks. Remember, we did show that picture of that one orca catapulting that seal about 80 feet in the air that one time.
Dicks to the right animals, because fuck seals, fuck sharks.
These guys, PETA and all that, what kind of life do they think a deer has except to be ended by the mercy of a hunter's gun? It's got to be a predator or they starve, and they starve like crazy in Texas. They are a pestilence down here. They and they're even worse in Alabama. They you can't kill enough of them in Alabama to keep them under control. And they get into the farms down there and just ruin farms. It costs a lot of money. But anyway, make a long story short. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's kind of like I can always tell vegans don't know anything about anything, especially PETA vegans, because they talk about cows. Cows are pure vegetarians. I'm like, no, they're not. And they just stare at me like, what? I was like, no, they're not. They'll eat meat.
They're omnivores, really.
Yeah, they are, and that's what it's hilarious to listen to vegans talk, especially the PETA ones, because they have no idea what the F they're talking about. Chickens will eat meat. Pigs definitely will eat meat, and they're
there's a reason. Well, there's a reason why we give them so much like corn and hay and stuff, and a strictly plant-based diet. It makes the milk sweeter.
Yep.
Alfalfa.
Well,
the alfalfa will do it. Yeah, mostly.
We've done birds. We did a little sojourn to fish. So now
what you've been doing, Harry.
Talk about bees.
Bees!
So the world's first vaccine for honeybees is here. So I know that everybody, hates vaccines now because of the coof and all that sort of thing. But colony collapse disorder is definitely a problem. So they've been just destroying lots of colonies to try to keep this stuff from spreading. And there was some concern that it was an existential threat to honeybees for a while there. We have seen commercial things die, like bananas. Bananas used to not be the Cavendish banana. They used to be a completely other different banana that got utterly wiped out. And they were kind of afraid the same thing was going to happen with honeybees. But the University of Georgia researchers have actually come up with a vaccine which they essentially feed to the queen. It ends up in the food supply for these guys and ultimately protects the entire hive. And it's got one of the famed emergency use authorizations because we love those.
Yeah.
But the disease is called American foul brood. And to combat it, they're looking at actually deploying this stuff.
It's not fun to watch it take over a colony because I have friends who have honeybees.
The grubs come out like weird and half jellified and the wrong color, and they're just not viable.
It looks like something out of an H.R. Geiger painting.
Yeah, it's real bad. I mean, thankfully their livelihood is not honey. They do it for the extra money as well as the enjoyment, but for people who it is their livelihood, it's like getting avian flu for farms that have that produce chicken.
Only it guarantees to wipe out your entire stock.
You have to burn the shit from the you just have to burn it. That's all you can do. There's nothing else you can do, and you have to be very, very careful because there's a very specific way, at least around here, that we have to burn it, because there's a chance that some of the particles from the dead will kind of go up through the smoke and then hit other bees, especially if there's anybody near. It's a whole thing, but it's
screw
not
this
pretty.
Disease.
It's not pretty at all. Ugh.
Yeah, if we're looking for a disease to wipe out, let's wipe this one out.
Well, if this works, there's a couple other hive ones that if this works, it'll help take care of other hive diseases too, hopefully. So hopefully this works. But anyway, sorry, Skep.
Go ahead, Skep.
Oh, I was going to say that the way that they test this is interesting. That it says that a good field test is to touch a dead larva with a toothpick or twig. It will be sticky and ropey, drawn out, if it has foul brood. It also has a characteristic odor, and experienced beekeepers with a good sense of smell often detect the disease upon opening a hive. It may not be noticeable until the disease is in an advanced stage. So it's like it's kind of silent there for a little while. You got to, be testing larvae, in different locations of the hive. But there, we have an apiary that's 200 yards away from my house. We have honeybees all over the place all the time. Those people are really nice people. I've talked to them about this stuff. And they are absolutely terrified of this.
Well, they should be happy. I'm sure they know about this.
I'm sure they do. I haven't talked to them in months, but hive collapse is a big deal within the bee community. You know that, don't you, Serenity?
Well, it's kind of like I was telling Harry before the stream. It's the reason why I do not have the responsibility to take care of honeybees, but god dang it, I have the ability to take care of leafcutter bees, and they're pollinators as well. And I have leafcutter bee boxes all around my place and butterfly boxes.
We spent a lot of time talking about how agriculture smells tonight.
I mean, it's going to
which I think is funny.
If you know the smell of certain things, you can tell the instant you walk into a barn something's off. You're just like, wait a minute.
You're right, Serenity. I know what you mean. I know.
Yeah, it's
like cyanide. That comet smells like almonds.
Marzipan comet.
When you walk into somewhere and it smells sickly sweet, that's when I get real fucking paranoid. I'm like, why does it smell sickly sweet? Why does it smell sickly sweet? What the hell's going on here?
Very, very sensitive to smell.
So I have a thing for you, Skep. You're gonna love this. This is right up your alley. But we're still talking about bees. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Buckle up. Swarming bees stir up their own electric fields. When bees fly, tiny hairs on their bodies vibrate as they move through the air, collecting a small amount of electrostatic charge.
Right.
Now, researchers have measured the collective electric field produced by a whole swarm of buzzing, boisterous western honeybees and found it's a lot bigger than they imagined, New Scientist reports. Using electric field monitors and video cameras, scientists discovered that insect clouds can generate 100 to 1,000 volts per meter. That is similar to the charge density of a thunderstorm.
Holy crap.
The researchers reported this week in iScience. The team isn't sure whether the bees benefit in any way by creating this electric field, but some suspect it may help them search for food. Or it's just fun at parties. I mean, that's a staggering amount of voltage. Obviously, it's not as big as a thunderhead.
As ubiquitous as that must feel to the bees, as ubiquitous as that must feel to them, I would be surprised if they did not find a way to use that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, there's also the fact that, like, I think part of, because not some honeybees, but honeybees will attach themselves to wasps and then just vibrate to kill them.
Yeah.
So that they might find it's not the vibration, it's them producing the electrical wave that's killing the wasps, not anything else.
Serenity. That means Pokemon are real.
Exactly.
Well,
These are
yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah, is there a bee Pokemon?
Yeah.
Beedrill, but he's
Beedrill.
He's
Beedrill.
got
Drills
drills on his front legs instead of electric charge. So this
How
is
do
more like a
adults
Pikachu
know
kind of thing.
Pokemon names. Never mind. I don't.
Well,
wanna
I
know
think
the
if we
answer to
took
that.
like 100 of the 1,400 studies looking at people's finger length and actually devoted them to learning more about
Something
bees,
worthwhile.
we'd be better off. Because this is interesting. We have a fact. We have no idea what it means, right? But there's a fact, and it's a big enough number that Skep knows what I'm talking about. It's a significant enough number that it means something.
Yeah.
We just don't know what.
Yeah.
And to me, this is actually exciting. I mean, and I'm not an entomology kind of person. Entomology. I didn't say etymology, thank God. I'm not an entomology person. And even I find this interesting. Go, Serenity.
Well, it's like it's one of those things like if you've ever gotten near an active honeybee hive, you can feel it in the air. And it's not even when they're aggressive. And if you get used to how it feels to be around them, you can tell the second they get mad because the entire air just changes around the hives. It's one of those things where it's just that you can feel it. So that this would explain that.
Yeah, and it's in addition to obviously there's the audio component. You can hear them. You can feel as you get closer to the hive. You can feel the vibration. So now knowing that there's this electrical field going on too, that kind of explains a lot of my experience with beehives. Because any good farm worth its weight would have any number kind of beehives.
Well, chat's not disappointing.
Oh God, what's chatting?
Okay, but believe it or not, we have more bees. More bees.
Bees are
okay.
Not the bees.
Bees
I'm
need meat.
As it turns out,
scene from My Girl at the end.
that bees actually are not pure vegetarians. They actually ingest a lot of sort of microscopic little critters and things when they're feeding that are an important part of their diet. So they actually get a little bit of nutritional benefit from the not pollen things that they ingest when they're running around feeding.
Well, that's where it's speculated they get the foul brood from the microorganisms, that they're the ones carrying it, and then they ingest it, and then it goes back to the hive, and then it takes
It's
care
a big ass.
I thought it was
bacillus. It's bacillus. It's a rod bacterium. It's a gram-positive bacterium, which means that it's huge. It takes a gram stain, but it does issue spores, so which is not uncommon for large rods. It is absolutely, so to speak, it is absolutely fucking pernicious. Those are well evolved organisms. They're very good at taking care of themselves, unfortunately.
Yeah. But it's so they say you're ask an entomologist, and what makes a bee, and you'll likely get some version of bees are just wasps that went vegetarian. New research shows this isn't true. Bees are actually omnivores, and their meat is microbes. This finding may open up a new window on why bees are in trouble. Anything that disrupts the microbial community in a bee's food, whether it is high heat linked to climate change, fungicides, or other stressors, could be causing developing bees to starve. I think this is another interesting observation that they've made.
Isn't there a specific word for something that consumes microbes? Not that isn't omnivore, carnivore kind of thing.
Kombucha lover.
It's a it's a microvore.
That's what it is. Yeah, I think so.
It's a microvore.
Okay.
And just to be a little bit of a jerk about the Pokemon thing, they've added another bee Pokemon. It's called Combi. I love Pokemon. I love Pokemon so much.
Well, just when you thought that we couldn't talk about bees any longer, there's a type of bee that actually is a bee and eats meat, rotting flesh. They call them vulture bees. Now,
they're acid loving.
Also called stockbrokers.
Yeah. Well, the thing about these bees is that microbes in their gut actually produce acids, sort of like in our gut. And because of this, they're able to digest proteins.
Actual meat.
and
so
they
cool.
produce a type of honey, but they
I don't know if
produce
I'd wanna
it.
eat that.
But the honey is not sweet like normal honey is. I mean, it's a little bit sweet, but it's
I wouldn't
really
expect
not
it to
all
be.
that sweet, and it
Yeah.
supposedly tastes
Is it
kind of funky and
hallucinogenic?
smoky. It is not hallucinogenic.
Damn.
Darn.
And you wouldn't be able to be a foodie and go out and buy this stuff, well, largely because they produce just enough for their own consumption, whereas honeybees produce a lot of extra, and you
Yeah.
can take it. If you take any of this honey from them, you're largely just
They get
driving.
Killing them.
You're just driving them to extinction because
But-
they will starve.
But it is really cool that they're vultures. That means we have another species that also takes care of carrion and stuff like that. Other than
Yeah,
just the birds that we thought they were.
they're in
and stuff.
the woods, in the forests, and they really don't get around.
Where?
that
Oh,
much. There
Costa
aren't that
Rica.
many of them.
Yeah, but saying it's got to be one of those like where all the deadly bugs and like fucking spiders and frogs are. It's got to be.
Yeah, this is a pretty niche thing, and my first thought was there's some asshole what are they called? Foodie type,
There you go.
who's probably going to try to find this honey because he wants to be able to claim he's eaten every kind of honey on the planet.
Well, he can go fuck
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah, but don't eat this honey. I mean,
Yeah, don't.
seriously. But yeah, there's actually a type of bees that doesn't just digest a few microbes. They literally, their food is meat. Okay.
Imagine your outdoors statement.
What?
Eat this, honey.
Fucking tastic electric garden.
Nice.
Come on,
And
Green
then
Badger,
you thought the
come on.
giant Asian wasp.
That's
or
the
murder
comment
bees or
of that's the
whatever.
comment of the show. I'm gonna leave that up for a little bit.
Electric carnivorous bees.
Okay.
Hey, Step,
so-
want to start a band?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys heard, but Hunter Biden has
God.
asked the court to stop one of his love children from taking his surname. So
What?
yeah, so he made this small child with this woman, and this child is going by the name of Biden, and because reasons. And so Hunter's actually trying to sue to make them not use his name, and he's claiming that he's doing it because it's actually better for the child since he's being investigated, and it might bring I don't know, shame or suspicion or something to the child. So
care
whatever you do,
before.
don't use my name. This
is
this
all
has the
kinds
smell
of
of
levels
complete and utter
past.
bullshit around here. He just doesn't want her showing up on his doorstep someday, and he's just trying to get distance.
Yep.
That's
Well,
all
he's-
this
he's-
is.
He's probably trying to get her, keep her from claiming child support too.
That's
Yeah, I believe my comment in Discord was if she goes by the same last name, they'll be forced to take showers together.
Oh, and she's looking at the child like, "Oh, you, my little investment."
Yeah.
Oh,
There's the
girls,
proud
that
father going to
Yeah.
court
There's
saying, "Don't use my
nothing
name."
nothing good going on in the story.
Oh,
That
looks like a
child's
garbage
future
bag.
is clouded. That
Oh, I love the fake Gucci
Oh, looks
slides.
like she
I
may
love
have
that.
gotten a couple payments
Well,
already.
I mean, Hunter is the smartest person that Joe knows, so hopefully
That's
that'll
sad.
rub off on the kid.
But oi,
Jeez.
No,
and
that-
and the woman seems nice.
oh yeah, she seems delightful.
Yeah.
That garbage bag around her upper torso, wonderful.
Better to slide down the pole, my dear.
Oh,
Air
look at
Force
that.
One. Why is she wearing an air? What the?
Because
Yeah,
she's
that
a
child-
Biden.
This
She's a
is
Biden.
this is
That poor
They're going to
child.
capitalize on this all they
Oh,
can.
Oh my
She's going to
God.
be pregnant
Air
by the
Force
time
One, that
she's
is kind of on.
15.
That's kind of
Yeah.
on the nose, don't you think?
A tad.
Ladies
Anyway, I
and
feel
gentlemen, the
gross.
next John Bonet.
Yeah, basically.
Oh God, don't say
Fuck.
that.
So there was another video that was making the rounds. I'm just going to show this to you. I want you to notice that this is somebody who is claiming to be a comedian. Okay.
Oh. She got tits and a vagina.
Oh wait, we're not getting any sound.
Which was obviously devastating. And I emailed him this ghosting exit survey to fill out. And feel free to use this at your leisure. So the first question is, please provide a 1 to 2 sentence example of why you did it. And I just thought it'd be nice to give some examples off the top of my head, like, you were intimidated by my beauty, you hate yourself, you're broken, I'm too good for you, like whatever comes to mind. Number 2, please circle if I am more cute, hot, sexy, or pretty, and just know, just as like a rule, you have to circle all 4. And then the third question, please explain why you did not write in smart for that last question. That's really misogynistic. 4, please provide the names, emails, and phone numbers of at least 2 of your exes and your birth mother. And that's just like, so I can start a group chat. And lastly, please select one form of compensation for me. So you could opt for something simple like sending me your passwords for various streaming services and your social security number, buy my mom a condo in Florida with a pool, don't skip out, and last but certainly not least, making me your muse and dedicating your life to winning me back.
Okay, so this is obviously a joke, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Is it, though?
obviously it's a joke.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Is it, though?
You would have to be a complete imbecile to think this is anything other than a joke,
Yeah.
right?
Not even that great a joke, but it's okay.
It's not a
joke.
good one, but
Guys keep ghosting me, so I
Okay.
created this exit survey to find out why. Good job, Samantha Ibrahim, because this article in the New York Post treats this as if it's a real thing.
of course she does.
Because why?
Because she's not good at her job.
It's just
I mean,
like,
you say that, but I can believe it.
I don't.
She
It's
looks
obvious.
like
It's
the type of
obviously a
woman
joke.
you have to punch in the face and tell her to close her fucking legs.
It's obviously a
doesn't.
joke.
I don't believe that.
It's a
It's a
joke.
fucking joke, dude. Like, mom, buy my mom a condo.
There are some
Like,
comedic elements, but
Well,
you
there's a bunch of these that have been around before. This isn't the
Oh, yeah.
first woman to actually talk about this thing. When I was doing a search, I found several of them, in the last 5 years. This is just a current incarnation of it. But it's a joke.
good comedy has elements of the truth in it, and I just can't
okay,
believe that
you're
this is
reaching
entirely.
on that one.
Yeah.
You're reaching. No. This
Okay,
is a joke.
okay. Here you go.
It's
Also from the
sarcastic.
New York Post. Brace yourselves. My husband is way hotter than me. People ask if I'm bothered by it. Okay.
Are you bothered by it, Elwin?
So, here they are. She's got her hunky
I can see
Dutch guy. He's got all this facial symmetry.
Yeah.
And, she's over there on the right, just doing her thing. I mean, she cleans up okay. I mean, she's kind of cute, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Like she's not hideous. Like
Well,
No,
she's
no.
very careful about the angle the pictures are taken from.
Yeah, she's
She
very
knows
careful.
exactly how to maximize what's going on.
She has
But
a
it's- I'm,
wide,
like-
flat, unappealing face, even though her eyes are lined up correctly. Her fulsome cheeks are just. She needs to lose about probably 10 or 15 pounds.
So what do you think, Serenity? Is this guy handsome?
Oh yeah, no, he's attractive.
8,
It's-
9,
it's-
maybe.
I don't know.
She needs to
she
make
doesn't-
herself thinner for his pleasure.
She just looks very. She's one of those girls because I know girls who are like that, who are very round in the face but aren't. Because she's not that big. She doesn't even look close to being that big.
I mean,
but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I like he's very attractive. I don't doubt that, but
more
it's not.
hair than she does.
Where she has her hair tightly pulled back and it's
I
mostly.
don't
perfectly
see that
thin.
big a gulf in.
Yeah,
in
there's
their
not like he's
appealingness
he's
either.
cute, but he's not Chris Evans at his height.
And we don't know
attractive.
if he has all of his fingers and toes either.
Well, we don't know if he's all that intelligent either.
Well, we have all these videos that are being made where people run around going, what do you think of this guy? How would you rate yourself? Are you a 10? Are you a 6? Whatever. And all these women go, I'm a 10 and I'm worth it. And, buy me stuff. And then there's the guys like, I think I'm a 6 or a 7. Guys generally don't care all that much. We really don't. We would much rather on the hot versus crazy graph be in like one of the safe zones where you can have a life that's not shrouded in terror.
Most men, that's all they want.
And Sora hits the proverbial and physical nose on the head. His nose is he's not that symmetrical because his nose is a little big for his face, but he's not ugly by any stretch of the means, and she's not either. She's just a very kind of dorky
right,
pale.
Serenity. Very well put.
She's a dorky
Exactly
pale.
right.
I also had to look up her Instagram. She's very square.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Not
makeup
surprised.
helps her a lot. Makeup helps her a lot, and she'll.
I'm hoping they both have very good
just fine.
personalities.
I would maybe rate her a 2 or a 3.
Oh.
But how rude would you have to be, assuming this actually ever happened, right? Okay, because we don't know. This is all bullshit. This is the same publication that was taking that video seriously a moment ago, right?
True.
So,
It could be just someone who's like making a joke.
For the sake of argument, let's just assume that this is true, right? How much of a dick would you have to be to walk up to somebody and say, does it make you feel insecure that your partner is way better looking than you?
Yeah, that
kind
would
of a
get you
dick
punched.
move.
Yeah, very dick. Very, very
It's like, thank you. I already have my own insecurities. I don't need you to validate them.
I mean,
Boom.
without getting into the
Nitty gritty.
modern bastardization of the saying, love is love. And I mean, you know, just be, like, I'm happy that these two people found each other. But
happy they're happy.
if somebody brings it up, hey, look at the disparity of looks.
A
I
man
can see
would
it.
never
can see
ask this question, would they?
No.
Nope.
I would
A
never.
man would never, because it would break the man code. Men wouldn't. It wouldn't even
Nope.
occur to us to ask this question.
No, we
No.
occasionally do. Well, I know in the past I've definitely seen couples that were married, and I kind of go, "Wow, she seems way too good for this guy."
Yeah,
But that's
I've
not
done that
about
more than
that's not
once.
about looks. That's about usually like a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Like she's got her shit together, and he's just kind of some schlumpy dude. You know,
it's
that's
like,
the
A
like, I hope he's
98-year-old
funny
with a
or-
20-year-old.
It's like I hope he's funny or good
Giggity.
in bed or rich. It's like because I don't know how the hell that works.
But I mean, it's garnered them some online notoriety. So, you know,
Well,
milk
that's
it.
hey man, as long as it doesn't, because that's the one problem when you start this shit online, is
Mm.
that there are going to be people, and it's the thing that like you think like people would have realized by now. If you don't, it's what Will Wheaton always used to say before he disobeyed his own rule, which is don't
you
feed
say
the trolls.
Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton.
Yeah, she's a moon
Will
face. I
Wheaton.
agree with with Sora, but it's one of those things
well
where it's kind of
said,
like
Sora.
don't feed the trolls. Acknowledge the nice things. If there is a little bit of a criticism, you can acknowledge that as well. But if people are like, "No, you're butt ugly, you stupid bitch," just walk on by it. Don't talk to them. Don't acknowledge them, and just go.
Something tells me from the way that they're rolling with the punches, so to speak, with this, that they have a good sense of humor and thick skins, and aren't.
If she's
might
Jewish,
not be.
she's just her mother saying it.
But it's like duck water off the duck's back. Just be the duck. You know?
Exactly. Well, it's like I said, if she's Jewish, which she looks like some Jewish girls I know, she's used to her mother saying it. It's like, just put makeup on. What's wrong with you? God, don't pull your hair back. Like God.
It looks like George Costanza there. Sorry.
Yeah, I can see that. She's not exactly. She's very pale, which
It was
fucks her even
cold.
more.
Oh wait, no.
But again, I'm just happy that two people in love.
Hey,
That's great.
If they're actually happy, more power to them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people suck. And
people always
stop giving these people a
Gaston
hard
is
time.
found his beast.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the moral of the story, right?
Fuck who you want to fuck. Be happy where you have a pie every once in a while. It'll all be fine.
Now I
That's
want
very
pie.
high.
Damn it. Well, I don't think we have anything else, right?
I do.
We're good?
believe so.
All right. Well, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. And with that, the zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
I mean, I can't go on an hour-long rant of
No.
Crowder situation.